who should be deported? Is it just violent criminals, or is it everyone who entered the country illegally? That's been a big topic of discussion even during the campaign time. After President Trump got elected, it was a more interesting conversation because Tom Homan and Caroline Leavitt started defining what it meant to be a criminal inside the United States. We'll take a look at that.
Who is ICE going after right now? I know that you and others said several times that it is the people who pose the biggest public safety threat to Americans who would be approached and deported first. Is that still the case?
Yes, people in the country illegally that have a criminal conviction that makes them a public safety threat. That's our priority. And this is a difference between the last administration and this administration. ICE is going to enforce the immigration law. There's nothing in the INA, the Immigration Nationality Act, says you got to be convicted of a serious crime in order to be removed from this country. So there's going to be more collateral arrests in sanctuary cities because they forced us to go in the community and find the guy we're looking for.
So President Trump, Tom Homan defined what it meant for them to be a criminal. Criminal meant that if you entered the country illegally, then you were in fact a criminal who could and would be sent to be deported. Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, also defined this.
The president is open to deporting individuals who have broken our nation's immigration laws. So if they are here illegally, then certainly he is open to deporting them. And that's what this administration is hard at work at doing. We receive data from DHS and from ICE every single day. From what we hear on the ground, ICE agents are feeling incredibly empowered right now because they actually have a leader in this building who is supporting them in doing their jobs that they were hired to do, which is to detain, arrest, and deport illegal criminals who have invaded our nation's borders over the past 4 years. That's what the president is committed to seeing. He is focused on launching the largest mass deportation operation in American history of illegal criminals. And if you are an individual, a foreign national, who illegally enters the United States of America, you are, by definition, a criminal. And so therefore, you are subject to deportation.
I apologize for interrupting. So to be clear, violent criminals do not receive precedence in terms of the deportations taking place.
The president has also said two things can be true at the same time. We want to deport illegal criminals, illegal immigrants from this country, but the president has said that, of course, the illegal criminal drug dealers, the rapists, the murderers, the individuals who have committed heinous acts on the interior of our country and who have terrorized law-abiding American citizens, absolutely, those should be the priority of ICE, but that doesn't mean that the other illegal criminals who entered our nation's borders are off the table. Right.
So the right is saying, hey, we need to deport all criminals. If they came in the country illegally, then they are a criminal. The left has a hard time with this, not necessarily with the violent criminal part, but they have a hard time with hearing that people who have been in the country, who've worked, who've paid taxes, who've built families here, that they are also subject to these deportations. We'll look at their opinion.
I agree that if there's bad people here that have committed major crimes, they should be kicked out of this country. Absolutely. But 68% of all the Latinos in America know somebody that's undocumented. And for all you folks at home, that's the folks who's picking your salad and milking your cows. On CNN tonight, in South Dakota, our farmer came on this show and talked about how he had voted for Donald Trump and didn't really think Donald Trump was going to deport the men and women who are milking his cows. Milk's finna go up. Buckle up.
The overwhelming number of immigrants here are law-abiding people who are paying taxes, who are following the law. And this sort of notion of like, we must remove all of them as rapidly as possible, and that's the problem with America, that's a really dangerous way to look at it.
Right. So the left really feels that it's a bad thing to send people and to deport people who came in the country illegally, who have been doing great things inside the country, who've been building their communities, building businesses, building families, and not committing violent crimes. The reason that this distinction is so important between violent criminals and nonviolent criminals is because Tom Homan and President Trump have initially said that they're going after violent criminals. So they have a list of people who have already committed violent crimes inside the country, who've entered the country illegally. So they're going and they're deporting these people. But there will be a time soon when this list will run out, when they're not going to have this violent criminals side anymore. So people have been asking, so who are you going to deport next? What's going to happen? And so they defined, we're going to also go after people who've just entered the country illegally, who haven't committed violent crimes. So it's kind of looking ahead, seeing what's going to happen in the next months, in the next couple of years, once all the violent criminals, or most of them, have been deported. The reason that distinction is so important is because that's what the big debate is. The big debate hasn't necessarily been on violent criminals, though Tom Homan, President Trump have had a difficult time deporting people in sanctuary cities. The real debate has been, what do we do with people who've entered the country illegally but haven't committed any violent crimes and have actually been an addition to the community and to society? Even inside the Republican Party, that's become a huge debate. I will say that I have many friends on both sides of this issue, both of them strongly on either side. So I understand that there's a lot to go into this. There's a lot of stories. There's a lot of statistics that go into this. I will say I want to hear what you think. What do you think about it? What do you think about deporting people? What do you think about deporting people who've committed violent crimes, people who haven't committed violent crimes? Leave your opinion in the comments. I want to know what you think. Subscribe, like, so you can see more content. I'm Tyler Covington with Center Leaning News. See you next time.